Here live from HEN Network in Shelton. We're 3 weeks outside of the new year, and we're going to be talking about all ways over the next 3 weeks to de-stress those holidays. So we're going to start off with a couple mindful minutes with Denise. This one I really, really like. Research says that people who are more in touch with their spirituality, including practicing kindness, are more likely to be happy. In addition, research from the past 30 years has found that people who volunteer are more likely to be satisfied and less depressed than those who didn't. This holiday season, I'm going to suggest you take a moment to volunteer. We have so many places in the county. I like the Pilot House in Fairfield. I like Operation Hope, Dress for Success, but there's so many. Look in your community or the places where you worship. Also, the other thing I think that's great is to examine your cupboards and your closets. There's no better way to shift energy than to move things out as we allow new things to move in the change of the new year. So don't dump, donate. And I don't know if we have an image of that, I can't see it, so I'm trusting that it's up for everybody to take a look at. The next, there you go, dump. Yeah, we've got way too much in the landfill, everybody, and whether it's Goodwill or the Merton House, there's plenty of people that need warm coats and things to make their home a little happier. So that being said, intentions are so very powerful. And I think it's time that we're going to be talking about over the next 3 weeks how to set intentions in place so we can experience the holiday we really dream of having every year. And I guess what we're going to ask you to do is think about how that looks like. What's the end result? How do you want to feel after New Year's? And where are you going to take this? So take a few minutes, less than 10, before the holidays, and maybe craft a statement about how you want your holiday to look like and write it down. And if you need help putting your to-do list together or clearing your mind or a guide for future goals, of course I'm going to recommend my Daily Drive, an agenda for your mind, body, spirit, and lifestyle that you can find on my website or on Amazon. So today is the first of 3 weeks in the de-stress of our holiday season, and we're going to start with someone very special that's going to help us mindfully look at our expectations of ourselves and our expectations of others, and kind of get those things in place so that we can really enjoy a time that's meant for generosity, celebration, and giving. So today we're welcoming Janet Mendel,
hello,
licensed marriage and family therapist. I was going to reverse them, located in Westport in Manhattan. Welcome to the Drive. Thanks so much for joining us.
Nice to be here.
I looked at your website, and there were so many things that I thought made great sense to me, and probably for my audience, about how we're all part of whatever situation's going on, but we're also all part of the solution. And I think people get really revved up for the holidays. It's almost like a natural, we know a state of anxiety is coming. Mm-hmm. And then we know how Aunt Jan is going to behave, or how we're going to feel when we're out, at the last minute shopping or preparing. And so what I really want to do this week is focus in on practical tips and what you see in your experience that people can do to move forward and really create a new holiday. So they're talking about a whole different story in January, like, wow, that was one of the best holidays ever. So I know that was a whole mouthful.
Okay.
Where would you start with someone that says, I really don't know what to do, I'm just overwhelmed?
Overwhelmed. Well, overwhelm can kind of cross over many different aspects of the holidays. So I'd want to know, I would try to get them to pinpoint what they think is really overwhelming them. Do you want to say something?
I do want to say something. So one of my actual high school friends from the Berkshires was on Facebook this morning saying, I'm going to do the right thing by my child, even though my ex is uncooperating once again these holidays. How about something like that?
Wow. Okay. That's a big one.
But we have a whole hour, so we're good.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, I don't know. Does that mean overwhelmed? I think it's an interesting statement. And
I think he's very overwhelmed, and I think it's a struggle of who can be where when.
Okay. So she's doing the right thing by trying to share her child? Is that?
She's not wanting to share.
Okay.
And the husband is wanting to share.
I'm sorry. Can you just say it one more time? What does she consider the right thing? I'm going to do the right thing by my child.
It's actually a guy who's going to do the right thing by his child. It's the ex-wife that's not. So she's restricting visitation or not making it easy.
Wow, that's a really hard one.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's hard for this couple outside of the holidays too.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
I like that your friend is trying to do the right thing. And I mean, all he can do is what he can do.
Right.
He can't really manage his ex-wife.
Well, that's a good point.
Although he can set a great example, and I've seen that happen. I've seen one spouse, former spouse, really kind of raise the bar to help the other, to model for the other spouse. And it's great when we see that happen. But there's a great expression that I love, and actually, I wish I knew who really said it. It was Valerie Bertinelli is quoted in People magazine during her divorce about this friendly relationship she's been able to have with Eddie Van Halen. And she said, "I've chosen to love my child more than hate my ex-husband." And actually, she was quoting someone else who was never attributed, and I've never been able to find the original source of the quote. But I think that I share that with all my clients who are going through that you have to be able, it's really hard to put your kid first. Well, it's not hard to put your kid first. It's hard to put your anger aside for the hurt and the anger that you have towards your former spouse.
So how could he better even tailor his expectation, because he's expending a lot of energy to do the right thing, but then in the end, when we're all out doing the right thing, and I know so many of us do that listen to The Drive, thank God, how do we recharge ourselves so we don't always feel like the one that's in the back of the bus or left behind, or sacrificing against something? So
I think you have to stop keeping score. I think you just have to, and I tell my clients who are going through this, and having been divorced, and having to raise my 3 children in a divorce situation, and now really being, you're never to the other side of it, but being really years out from the initial separation, I tell my clients that you're not going to see the end result. This is not, it's like a marathon, not a race. You're not going to see the end result and be able to really have that satisfaction of knowing that you've done the right thing. But when your kid turns out as minimally damaged as possible from this experience, and when they can say to you, Dad, I always admired, or I knew sometimes you and Mom were going at it, and I saw you did the right thing. That's the reason you take the high road, and you're not maybe going to see those results in real time or get that feedback in real time, but you just have to hope that
eventually you will.
And even if you don't get that feedback in your heart, you're going to know that you didn't fail your kid.
That's great. Now, what about those of us that are amongst family that have all different types of expectations? Where are we going? Who's showing up? What am I cooking? How am I shopping? How can we manage that as in today's contemporary society? I'll start first, with the ladies, because normally a lot of it falls on us. So, we're working, or whether you're not working, maybe you have, children at home. What can we do to help people de-stress? What can we do to give them as real concrete tips so that they can bite down on something and say, yeah, that really worked?
Okay. Again, it goes back to managing expectations.
Right.
How perfect does it have to be? I think around the holiday times, everybody has this vision it's got to be perfect. And I don't think that social media helps that very much, because I think people are posting, their perfect Christmas, their perfect Hanukkah, whatever holidays they celebrate, and how perfect their families look. And so I think that really gets in our heads and even ups the ante for a lot of people. And I think we have to kind of look at that for what it is, and know that there's a lot of spin in that, and we don't necessarily have to believe that and feel like we have to be that perfect.
We often talk about detoxing from media.
Great, love that. Love that.
Detoxing from media, and setting a realistic expectation.
Right.
A few years ago, it was all those models in the magazine are airbrushed. Be realistic about your body image.
Right.
Now it's like all those place settings on Pinterest.
Right.
Maybe really.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And I always say you don't have to buy what they're selling. I don't necessarily mean buy the hype that our friends and people on Facebook are selling and feed into it. But yeah, expectations. Manage your expectations. Manage your time.
Any tips on managing time? That's a big one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just pretty much the obvious. Just really schedule it. And actually, there's studies that show that when you actually build something into your calendar as something that could be, really like mundane, like buy the presents or something, but if you assign a time frame to it, it's more apt to get done in a timely, more organized way, and it may not spill over into hours, right? If you give it a 2-hour block, you're more likely to keep it within that 2-hour time frame.
Lee Iacocca used to say writing it down is one way of getting it to happen.
Yeah, it
right?
makes it much more real, more real.
So Troy will always say, Denise, just say no.
Love that too.
And I have such a problem with saying no. Not so much as I used to, but I love to do a lot of things. I'm interested in a lot of things. I love to chit chat with all my friends. The more parties, the better. And then I feel like I'm at holiday time, not throughout the year. Then I find like I'm just road pancake. So what about someone that's not necessarily, well, whether they can't say no, or someone like me that just likes to try everything and be out there? What can we do?
When you don't say no, and you've probably said yes to like one too many things, how do you feel?
Road pancake. I hit road pancake last night, as a matter of fact. It was just one, and it actually manifested in a stomach ache, which is very unusual for me. But I just said, I'm going to listen, and it was an event I really needed to be at, so I was very torn. But I feel much better today, actually, having said no, because I feel more
So you
rested.
said no to that event?
I did say no. Yeah, of course, with Troy's prompting. It wasn't.
Right.
I won't take all the credit, but I definitely said no.
Look, sometimes we have to say yes, but I think we have to kind of tap into that memory of what it felt like to take on like that like last thing that we shouldn't have taken on, and that we just don't, that we have to weigh that stress and anticipate what that stress of saying yes to that thing that we probably shouldn't be saying yes to is, how that's going to feel versus whatever emotion we're attaching to saying no to. And oftentimes it's fear, it's guilt, and understanding what that emotion is and whether it's a real, whether it's manufactured in our head or if it's real.
Well, yeah, and I think, habitually we get used to doing things, right? In the same way when we started the open of the show, we think the holidays are going to be anxiety-ridden. So right away we think we kind of invite that door to open.
Yeah.
And then once we're in that door called the anxiety party, and that's all that we talk about. I was looking for images for my marketing of the show today, and you can't imagine how many stressed out images are available quickly.
I bet.
Right? I was like, I don't know if I really want to put that negative spin on it, so we didn't. But it kind of just illuminated the fact that there's too much of that rhetoric going on. And based on that, we got a little flag from Kate that we've got to take a quick break.
Okay.
So we're going to come right back. It's Denise DiGrigoli and Janet Mendel here on The Drive, de-stressing your holidays over the next 3 weeks. Thanks, guys.
Darien Sport Shop is a unique store because it's a family store. A busy mom can come in with kids in tow and find everything she needs for them, and even find a dress for herself for Saturday night. And if she's in a rush, she can simply go home and order it from us that night. We'll deliver it the next day. The Darien Sport Shop. We're pretty on the outside and amazing on the inside. Conveniently located with free and easy parking at 1127 Post Road, Darien, Connecticut. Or shop us online at dariensport.com.
It's time to come back to hometown banking, where people are taken into account, not just balances, where community comes first, a place where there's more than one kind of interest, where automation will never replace consideration, where they not only know your name, they know your dog's name too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well.
Back to school means back to busy, and Stewart's Market can save you precious time by stocking all of your favorite essentials under one roof. For a healthy start to school, we have all the ingredients. Walter Stewart's, your family-owned fresh local market, 229 Elm Street and at stewartsmarket.com.
When you experience a sports injury, you want to get better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team doctors for area football teams. For specialized personal care of sports injuries, go to Coastal Ortho Express, open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
Tired of all the bull? Relax and enjoy the experience of buying a car at Pamby Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram. No bull allowed.
I'm Kate Chaplinsky. Join us for Coffee Break weekdays at 11 to get the latest Connecticut news, weather, high school sports, and more. News doesn't get any more local than on Coffee Break on the HAN network.
On this
I'm
one?
Kate
Welcome back, guys. It's Denise DiGrigoli at The Drive here on HAN Network, live Tuesdays. It's a motivational talk show with people, places, ideas, organizations, all things that move us forward. How you feel your life, your mind, your body, your spirit creates the lifestyle you live. So over the next 3 weeks, we're going to be talking about different ways to get through the holidays, but not only get through them, actually move through them and create a new type of meaning and memory in your holidays. And we're starting today with Janet Mendel, licensed marriage and family therapist from Westport in New York, that's been really helping us look at ways that we can change our expectations of ourselves and others to get a different result. Because ideally, we really do want a different result. So on the break, we were talking amongst ourselves, because this is fodder for, wow, there's a lot. We could be on here for 2 hours. So Janet, we were talking about what happens when you're at a holiday event and you've got that angst riding to your mother's house or your aunt's house, that, you know, Aunt Jan and Aunt Joe are going to be there and they're going to have the same tensions again, or the same grudges amongst family members and the same arguments percolate again. What can we do to sort of diffuse that and change that so that's not how it goes down in history, perhaps, for ourselves?
Okay. Well, the first thought I have is we can't change other people.
Right.
Right? We can only...
We would love to, but we can't.
We can only really change how we choose to look at something or deal with something, or our own actions.
Right.
So, you know, Aunt Jan and Aunt Jane still might be going at it with each other, and that, you know, that might just have to be the reality. But we can change how we process it. And so I like to tell people, think, and I guess a better example is if you have tensions with your parent and you're going home for Christmas and you've always had like kind of tensions or stress with your parents. Think about, as you're driving there, how you want to feel on the drive home. Do you want to...
So sort of pre-respond,
Yeah.
pre-visualize the end result that when you're leaving.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not a minute after you arrive.
I typically like to tell people to not write the last chapter because we never really know how anything's going to happen. But sometimes, you know, when we've been in a family and we have entrenched patterns, we kind of often can pretty much predict what we're going to get. And if we've left feeling regretful that we've said something hurtful, or we've kind of like crossed a line we wouldn't want to cross in the past, I ask people to really be intentional and to drive to their mother's house for Christmas, thinking about what I want to feel like on the way home, what's going to make me feel regretful, what might I say if I get pushed that's going to make me sorry that I said it, and then really make a deal with yourself that you're not going to do it, and really be mindful and intentional, and on the same page, think about what's going to make you feel good on the way home.
So I do have a question. So you've done all that homework, you're visualizing that on the way there, how it's going to look and feel, and you're in the throes of it, and it's been a great holiday experience, and you're at the tail end, and something happens that just pushes a button you weren't aware of, and you lose your marbles. And it's all for naught. Tell me about entrenched patterns and what that means, so that when you have done such a great job of really enjoying yourself and staying true to yourself, but something hits that hot button that you don't fall in that entrenched pattern? Because that happens a lot.
It does happen a lot, but you just gave me two different scenarios. I want to answer the question you want me to answer. Did I lose my marbles, or am I about to lose my marbles?
I lost my marbles.
Okay, well, then you lost your marbles, and you're not perfect, and you know, you have choices from there. Do I apologize? You know, how you want to deal with that? Do you deal with it in real time? Do you want to deal with it later? I mean, I don't know if you're aware of it as you're doing it, but I think the more helpful conversation maybe is, how do you stop from losing your marbles?
How do you stop from losing your marbles?
And look, sometimes we lose our marbles. We're not perfect. We're, you know, so
I stand in line of occasionally losing
yeah,
marbles.
It's going to happen. And I think there has to be acceptance around that, and hopefully learn from it, but not really sit in judgment of it for too long. If that makes sense?
Yeah.
But I actually have a remote control in my office, and I don't have a TV, and I use this remote control to talk about hitting our pause button.
Yeah.
And I mean, the pre-step to hitting our pause button is to really know that we're getting activated, and to have to just slow down and kind of hit like freeze frame and be able, and like slow down, go into slow-mo and say, okay,
I'm getting activated.
I feel myself getting activated and I'm about to lose it, and then to really hit our pause button. And like for some people, I really say like hit yourself, or like, you know, that's why some people use the rubber band around their wrist, and it's part of cognitive behavioral therapy, but
wow.
it can really make a difference, and for some people it's a stop sign in their mind. But if they can take that second and hit that pause button, they have time to make a decision and to actually choose a behavior rather than just go to reaction mode.
I'm buying everyone a set of rubber bands for Christmas.
Okay.
taking them instead of dessert. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that bad.
It works for a lot of people.
So we touched on the emotional piece of dealing with our families, maybe exes, maybe entrenched patterns. And that's still going to be mulling around, because that's flexing a whole new set of muscles, right? And I think that takes a lot of work. But what about just the general sense of overwhelmness? In my case, I have a lot to do in my various organizations, caring for an aging in-law, middle schooler, still want to do all the right things for the holiday. What are the right things? You know, finding the appropriate gift, showing up, making foods that actually taste good because I didn't rush. So what? And I'm sure there are many people listening, and I know many of my friends kind of feel the same way. What can we do? Is it that we need a day at the spa, which we don't have time to take at this time of year? What can we do?
Again, I think organization. I go back to expectations too. How much of it's totally necessary? Can you delegate? Can you ask some people to help you to bring some stuff to your Christmas dinner instead of you're having to do everything? Can you elicit your husband to help you wrap gifts so it's not?
He's a good rapper.
Yeah, so it's not. I would bet he would be.
He's a good rapper.
So that it's not all on your plate. And go back to what you really want the meaning of your holiday to be.
Well, that's true, and we've been
Right?
really returning to that lately, and we've really been returning to. I've been often saying to my middle schooler, let's not think about ourselves in this holiday. What random acts of kindness can we do? What can we do to get outside of ourselves and all of our obligations and actually do things? And I know some people maybe serve food at the soup kitchens or whatnot, but I challenge everyone on the drive to really think of ways that you haven't thought of in the past to help someone in need, to really take a look at and give some gratitude. I don't know what your feeling is, but I know that when you have a sense of gratitude, then it makes everything that you have enough.
Yes.
And I think it bears merit, especially with ladies. There's a resounding theme, I think, that we're not good enough. I'm not enough. I'll be enough when. What do you think about that at the holiday time?
Well, I think.
Do you get a lot of that in your practice?
The women feeling not good enough?
Yeah.
Yes, not necessarily tied to holidays, but just yes. And again, you know, that's a tough one. I mean, we can manage that and not always be perfect at it, and sometimes we're going to feel that we have that under control, and then something's going to kind of knock us off our feet, and we have to choose. And again, choice. It's a choice to look at the positives and where we are enough, and accept that no one's ever really. I mean, even the people that we are thinking are all that.
They have their stuff too.
Yeah, and there's a great expression: don't judge your insides by other people's outsides. Because you never know what's going on for them.
My grandmother would say, the grass isn't always greener. You got to mow that grass too.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, any great plans for you this holiday? Are you traveling? What do you do to keep your holidays sane? Because you have a blended family, and I know you guys are very busy.
Yep. We're going to go away.
Yep.
It's everyone's all over the country, so we don't get to spend a lot of time together, and we actually can't even get a whole week together because of work schedules and school schedules, but we will be going away, and it'll be nice, and looking forward to it.
So I want to kind of segue into what I find very motivational about you, and of course our talk show has a lot to do with motivation, is this was a second career for you, going
Yes.
into family therapy. So tell me a little bit about what you did before this career.
Okay.
And what moved you over to this. Because I think you did it in what we would call a second phase of your professional career.
Yes.
And that takes a lot of courage.
I don't think I saw it that way, but looking back, I guess.
Especially with 3 kids.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage.
So when I graduated college, I had a career. I wanted to be a journalist, and I was a good writer, and I wound up having a career in. I was a copywriter, but not for editorial. I wrote marketing materials for magazines and newspapers, and ad proposals to get advertising for newspapers and magazines, and it was a great career. I loved it. I did that while I was in my first marriage. I worked through my 3 pregnancies, 3 kids, and when my last child was born, my 3rd child, who's now 20, I kind of took some time off. I freelanced a little bit, but took some time off, and a few years later, my first marriage ended. And I actually got remarried pretty quickly, and didn't work for a number of years, and started to blend a family, our 2 families together. I relocated from New Jersey to Connecticut, which was a big move, really big move. And
Did you bring your children too?
my kids came with me. Their dad was in New Jersey, so a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And blindly went into it thinking it was all, we were going to be the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
And that's
Were you the Brady Bunch?
No, they actually played the Brady Bunch while we cut our cake, and we laugh about that now because, if you think about it, in the Brady Bunch, you never saw an ex-spouse, right?
Yeah,
There were
no.
no ex-spouses in the Brady Bunch.
No.
And they had Alice. And
Yeah.
So I think
Doesn't
that
everyone have an Alice?
the Brady Bunch has done blended families a tremendous disservice.
Yeah.
So anyway, while I was in college, an undergrad, I had been a psych minor, and I never really pursued anything, but I'd always been really interested in it. And when I started to blend the family, we went into marriage counseling, and I had been in marriage counseling in my first marriage, and I decided to take one class at Fairfield U just to kind of dip my toe in it, not necessarily committing to anything, but more to figure myself out and figure out this crazy life I was in. And I just really loved it, and I decided to pursue the degree, the master's, and open my practice, thinking it would be pretty much specialized to couples and blended families. It's more general than that, but it's been a great second act for me.
To me, that's very inspiring because it does take courage. Number one, to blend a family. I really would love to hear what some of the obstacles are, because it would seem a little bit easier than it probably is if everybody gets along. But then my question would be, what happens if everyone doesn't get along? And I'm getting a signal from Kate that we have to take a break, and that's a great one to come back with. We'll talk about blended families and what it means to be blended at the holiday time. We'll bring it back around to holiday. All right, we'll be right back, everyone. Denise with The Drive and the next 3 weeks of de-stressing your holidays. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Find over 1,000 special stories at Hospital for Special Surgery. Go to hss.edu/backinthe game.
I was jogging 5 months after my cartilage tear.
Skiing a year after hip surgery.
And playing grandma 4 weeks after hip replacement.
One special hospital, 1,000 special stories. See Connecticut patients at hss.edu/CT.
In Pound Ridge since 1993, the Wine Connection is one of America's best wine shops. Visit our beautiful store for the greatest in wine and knowledgeable service. With wonderful values from around the world to collectibles for your cellar, we are your one-stop source. Visit our online shop at wineconn.com and make sure to sign up for email updates. With great offers, new arrivals, and special events, don't miss all the action at The Wine Connection, including tastings every weekend. The Wine Connection, located at 32 Westchester Avenue, Pound Ridge, New York.
Healthy, confident smiles begin at Stratford Orthodontics. Conveniently located on Main Street, we are Stratford's hometown orthodontist. We offer the latest in orthodontic technology, including Damon braces and Invisalign. We always accept new patients. Call today to schedule a complimentary consultation. 203-375-8332. Stratford Orthodontics, 2499 Main Street, Stratford. 203-375-8332. And online at stratfordsmile.com.
The fall bite is heating up. Albies, bonita, blackfish, alligator blues, and stripers are following the large schools of bait in the Long Island Sound. This is the time to visit the New England coast, and the Dock Shop can get you outfitted with the latest fishing gear, jackets, hats, gloves, and fleece. Boater, beach bum, fishermen simply love the New England coast. This is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com. The fall bite.
Welcome back. We're talking about ways to de-stress our holidays and really get into the spirit of generosity, giving, and celebration, and not what the perceived holiday should look like, but actually have something credible to say after the holiday. I enjoyed myself because it changed my expectations of myself, of others, and also at the same time, I monitored my moods. So if I am getting activated by tensions and regular arguments that happen every single year at this holiday dinner, or if I'm getting activated and stressed out about what I'm seeing on social media because my family members are posting things that I don't necessarily agree with, or they're sharing things that are too private and I'm not into that, how do I monitor my response with staying authentic to myself and true to what I believe and what I want to role model for my children, and how do I actually engage and create a positive experience for not only myself but the people I really say I want to be around. So we were talking right before we broke about blended families.
Okay.
Now, in a blended family, everybody, whether even without a blended family, each family member is so different.
Yes.
Their belief system, their frame of reference, etc. In a blended family, I'm sure there are issues as in any family. So what can we do? Tell me some of the things that crop up that you see in a blended family that might be different from a family that's not blended, for example. And what can we do throughout this time, any time, but specifically during the holiday time, to find the light in that person or find the best in that person so that we can also enjoy them?
Okay. Yes, blended families are really different than regular families.
How so?
It's like 2 countries coming together, like everything going on in the world. 2 countries with their own histories, their own cultures, their own traditions coming together. And if we're talking about related to the holidays, and ideally we would love for them to create their own culture and their own start to write a new history and create their new traditions. And that sounds great. It's not always so easy to do. I mean, and even if everybody in this blended family has
this new tribe
has that goal, sometimes there's the mother, the ex-wife who's the mother of these kids, and the ex-husband who's the father of these kids, really having different agendas and really trying to thwart that process of this new tribe creating their own traditions. So there's a lot of complications. Can it be done? Sure, it can be done.
What do we say to the kids that feel that struggle? Because struggle at the holiday time seems to be the worst,
Well,
aside from any other time in the year.
I don't know what I can think about that question, but you know, it really starts with the parents, and I would love for the parents not to put the kids in that position.
Don't compromise your children.
Right. Don't put your kids in the middle, and you know, really take the high road. And if you have to bite your tongue, bite your tongue. I mean, we all bite our tongues. And you know, at one point I remember saying to my ex-husband, who I get along with great now, you know, you don't know all the times I didn't call you and I was so angry at you because I chose just to figure it out and not make an issue out of it because we had these kids to protect, and so you don't your ex-spouse doesn't have to know every time you're mad at them.
So monitor your feelings and your moods and take the high road. Mm-hmm. How do you find in that then, because that seems again a very important step, but then you might be expending a lot of energy to achieve that. So what do you do for yourself to kind of rejuvenate? Or what do you tell your clients to rejuvenate? Because you got to protect yourself too.
Yeah, sure. I would say whatever works for them. If it's taking a run, if it's listening to music, if it's taking a bath, going out with your dog, whatever really speaks to you, to just kind of give yourself that time and to chill and decompress and channel that energy elsewhere, whatever works for you.
We talked about that last week too, and we're talking about it a little bit today. You know, carving out time for you, carving out time for what's meaningful to you. And I know Troy does a great job at that. You know, his outlet is his cycling. And so that's one thing that's, you know, keeps his balance in all of his juggle. Mine is a few other things, but I would imagine in a blended family, you might feel even more of a pull, right? Because you're accountable to not only your new tribe, but maybe, you know, things outside that, because there's still some extended family within a blended family that I would have, grandparents, for example, on both sides. Now there's 4 sides, not 2.
Yeah, it's very complicated.
It can get very complicated. So do you okay, bite your tongue is one thing, but do you express yourself? Do you ever let, at some point, someone know how you feel?
Sure, but I think you have to pick those issues, right? And you have to approach them in a productive way and not in an angry way. So probably waiting until the anger subsides so you can have a productive conversation.
So okay, this is actually great. What does a productive conversation look like? How does it start? And we're already in January now.
So with an ex-spouse or so I actually do a couples therapy called Imago, and it was developed by a therapist named Harville Hendricks. He's written books, How to Get the Love You Want, and it was initially developed for couples, but it's used in many 2-person, we call them dyad, relationships. And it starts with making an appointment to talk. Oh. I want to, you know, something happened I'd like to discuss with you. Is now a good time? And they have because we often start a conversation without even asking the other person if it's a good time for them to talk, and often it's not, and that conversation's probably not going to go very well.
Right.
So to make an appointment to talk, like to talk to you about something that's been on my mind. Is now a good time? If they say no, when is? And you schedule it.
Would you do that also with a grandparent, like a distant grandparent that's, you know, very intrusive, like one of the 4 sets of grandparents?
Sure.
So it doesn't matter if it's the next spouse.
Yeah.
Like an appointment to talk.
Yeah, and we do this with like people who are still married to each other. This is how it was meant to be, but it's had many other applications now. Teachers do it. You know, students and teachers do it. Like parent and child do it. So an appointment to talk, and then.
And who opens up that appointment?
Whoever wants to have a conversation. So, and usually ideally it's done in person. It might have to be done over the phone if you don't live near each other. And in this Imago therapy, ideally it's done with a very structured way of talking. One person talks, the other person listens, and then mirrors it back. It's reflective listening.
I'm going to try this in my house.
So you're upset that when we were together for Christmas, I didn't thank you for the gift.
Right.
So you've repeated it. They've just said to you, I was really pissed off when you didn't thank me for the gift. So now you say, oh, so you were
really pissed off.
You were upset that I didn't thank you for the gift. And I know that there's people cringing out there right now because it sounds so robotic and just so unnatural, and it really is. And when I do it with my couples, I'll say, this is going to be so awkward. But if they give into the process and they really learn it, and they don't talk like that all the time, they talk like that primarily when they need to resolve something. It takes reactivity, emotion out of a
It seems like a
conversation.
crunchy building blocks process, like Legos. Like it has some structure to it that really helps.
We call it the structure. And so it takes emotion out of it because you're listening. You can't be going, yeah, but,
and then you're repeating it.
And in the repeating, A, you're hearing it in a way you may not have heard it before, and B, the other person is getting assurance that they were heard. And then there's all different other steps to it, but it and when we do it if you're doing it in a therapy room with a therapist, the therapist is guiding you into, and that made me feel, and so we get into feelings. But even if you're doing it in your set by two people doing it by themselves without a therapist, just slowing down a conversation and having a listener and a speaker and a listener and a speaker, just can change the whole.
So I'm going to really segue
direction
now
of the
because
conversation.
this sparks a real question in my personal mind. So I think, like so many of us, have a running inner dialogue, and that is, I should. When I often say on the show, no one should on each other.
Right.
I should. I need to. I have to. And so I have this inner dialogue. Is there any sort of process we can help our viewers with today that, in that same sort of structuring, where you kind of internally talk back to yourself? That would help maybe somebody say no or reorganize their thoughts or their to-do list in this holiday time. Is there an internal, and maybe that's happening before you're activated, or maybe that's happening when you're just making that huge laundry list and feeling like, I've got to do all this because it's the holidays. What can we do to steer the inner dialogue?
Well, I think that's a question for someone who has the ability to just kind of hit their pause button or be mindful and saying, okay, like I'm feeling, like someone who can tap into their feelings. I'm feeling overwhelmed, and this is what, and then be able to access what they're thinking. If they can do that, then the next step would be, is this reality? Is this a feeling or a fact? This is what I'm having. Like, is what I'm feeling based in reality? And I don't mean that they're crazy, but is it a construct that they've just made up in their head that they're supposed to be doing something?
Right.
And so start to ask themselves that question. Is this? And I have a sign in my office. It says, "Don't believe everything you think." And
that's a great one.
And so I guess that's where I'm getting to. Like, so you have this belief, and we all have distorted beliefs that are, for so many different reasons, they come from our families of origins. They come from the expectations we assume other people have of us. Many, many different places they come from. But to stop and say, okay, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm thinking. Is it, is it distorted? Is it realistic? And should I believe what I'm thinking?
I think that's a great tip for the holidays, because I know that we all put a lot of perceived pressure, and then we get onto that train of like, yes, it is. And if you don't get in touch with your feelings and kind of turn it around a little bit, you could be on that train of, I didn't do a great job. And then that leads to a litany of other things. And by the time you get to the holiday dinner, all hell breaks loose. Very, very interesting. So I want to ask you, how do you, somebody that spends so much energy helping others, find relaxation? And not only in the holiday time, but what do you do for yourself?
What do I do for myself? I don't know that. I spin, and while I would probably say as I'm driving there, can't believe I have to spin, I think it's a great outlet. So I work out, I spin, but I think the best part, the thing that makes me most happy, and I don't get to see my kids, so I would normally say my kids, but they don't live with me anymore, they're all over the place, is walking my dog. Just walking my dog. And sometimes it's with my husband, and sometimes it's with headphones, but just getting out, being outside with the dog.
Simpler things in life.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting the flag that we have to take our last break here.
Okay.
It's been such a pleasure chatting with you. We'll be right back, guys.
Thank you.
Denise with The Drive here on HAN Network every Tuesday and later on demand. Thanks so much for joining in.
At Innovative Health and Rehabilitation, we provide an advanced level of care to resolve symptoms and minimize recurrence. Our experienced professional staff design and implement effective plans to return individuals to their prior level of function. We specialize in the treatment of orthopedic and sports injuries, pre-post surgical rehabilitation, performance enhancement, strength and conditioning, vestibular rehabilitation, balance and gait training. A convenient location and flexible scheduling is available to accommodate your needs. We look forward to providing you with a comprehensive level of care to meet your rehabilitation goals. We are also affiliated with 3 high schools, Norwalk, West Hill, and Stamford. Our certified athletic trainers cover the athletic events at the high schools to prevent, treat, and educate student athletes and injuries. Our certified athletic trainers also take part in the New Canaan Youth Football Program. Reach us at 650 West Avenue in Norwalk. Call us at 203-852-9903. Innovative Health and Rehabilitation.
While the temperatures are cooling down, the fall bite is heating up. Albies, bonita, blackfish, alligator blues, and stripers are following the large schools of bait that are abundant in the Long Island Sound. If you love the New England coast during autumn, this is the time to be on the water. The latest from Shimano, Quantum, Avet, Hoagie, Phase 2 and more are in stock and ready to go at the Dock Shop. And don't mind those fall breezes with jackets, hats, gloves, and fleece from Grundens and Stormer. The Dock Shop will keep you warm and dry. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
Here at the Darien Sports Shop, we are very excited about our newly redesigned men's department. Gentlemen, if you're shopping for work, weekend, or wedding, we've got the latest styles and trends inside our spacious new department just for you. We have vast selections from Peter Millar, Vineyard Vines, Johnny O, Duckhead, Barber, and so much more. And you can even walk out of the store in the new Wolverine 1,000-mile men's boot. Conveniently located with free and easy parking at 1127 Post Road, Darien, Connecticut. Or shop us online at dariensport.com.
At Innovative Health and...
We're back, and it's Denise DiGrigoli with The Drive live on HEN Network every Tuesday. And for the next 3 weeks, we're going to talk about how to de-stress your holidays, make them more meaningful, more memorable, and less anxiety-ridden. So we've been talking about all the ways to de-stress and change our expectations of ourselves and others and kind of reset the course of what has been in the past for something new. And the one thing that I'll offer to you is if you feel yourself getting heated up or your family putting you in a little box or you're feeling activated, it's time to hit the pause button like Janet says. And I think that's a wonderful tip. To summarize, I think it's, organizing, blocks of time for shopping, whatever, saying no. Saying no. Organizing, saying no.
Managing your expectations.
Managing expectations, and the one we talked about on the break was volunteering. And volunteering and random acts of kindness get us out of our own way and actually help us shift gears by giving energy out, hopefully renewing with new energy coming in. Did I kind of cover it?
I think you did.
Well, I'm so thankful you came on. This has been a great chat. You can find more about Janet on Janet Mendel Therapy CT.com. And you're seeing it on this broadcast. You can always email me or email the station. And we look forward to hopefully seeing you back in the new year with maybe the next set of topics would be how to get your child off to college with less stress. I know there's lots of people that have that issue.
Well, I've done it 3 times.
Probably a pro by now.
Okay.
Well, so guys, next week it's Rose Shalala of Festivities. She's going to help us with small appetizers and setting a fabulous table, but one that's within reason, within our own, what's fabulous to us, not to others, because everybody's sense of all is different. And then on week number 3, we're going to have an incredible yoga instructor. I think you're going to love him and love his style, talking about small ways to move your body in ways that we don't even know that we do, that can help us de-stress throughout the holidays. So thanks so much. We'll see you next Tuesday here on HAN Network, The Drive with Denise. Happy holidays, everyone. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and all the other things that we celebrate.